Hey, Coach Nate here with Mantis Training Academy in downtown Pullman, Washington, working on video series number 8 for Dalal. All right, we're talking about pulling today, and pulling is just the opposite of pushing, so same rules pretty much apply. All right, so first one, real easy way to practice, pushing and pulling, whatever it is, we start with the resistance band, and this time I'm going to start with 2 of them. All right, so I hook them up, attach them, take my step back, and I pull. Big chest, a little athletic position, sitting down a little bit, pulling right to my armpits. Some people will make the mistake of pulling down here or pulling up here. Both of those are wrong. So pull, real easy, okay? If I want to add in a rotation component, or a component where I need to resist rotation, I make it single arm. This goes the same for the pushing too. So I pull, and now each time when I have enough resistance on this, I have to resist this. So I lock everything in, nice good position, and I pull. And I personally don't add a lot of rotation on this, but if you want to do your normal rotation here, that's fine. Everything stays nice and tight through back here. And remember, I'm pulling, I pinch the shoulder blades together when I come back, and then they release on the way forward. If I want to change it a little bit, I can change my stances going into our stance progressions. Go wide, narrow, narrower, okay. Split open, side here, split regular, side here. Whatever leg is forward, it'll be opposite hand for the band. Okay. So lots of different ways. I can even do 2 out of the split position. That was a little bit easier of a way. Lots of options. Okay. So our next one, very similar. What we can use is we can attach a band, whether it's a looped band like this, or a straight band with no end like this. I can attach that to a high point, and I can come down to either my tall kneeling or my seated position here, or my half kneeling, and I can make my pull a little bit more vertical. And that'll start to change some of the dominating muscle groups. So real easy ways to progress things. All right. So moving forward here, this is one I don't believe we did, but I can use my straps, your TRX straps, my jungle gym straps. I can set them pretty high, and I can do an assisted pull-up where my legs assist me. So anybody can do pull-ups now because of this. So I sit down on my butt, sitting up nice and tall, and where I want these straps to be is I want that when I'm sitting on my butt, I barely got these in my hands, so my arms are fully lengthened with me sitting up nice and tall, all right? I stick my feet in the floor, lean back just a little bit, and I pull up to my collarbones, and I lower down, all right? So if we want to make this a little easier, all we have to do is push a little bit more with our legs. A little bit of a squat, and we don't have a problem there. So these are really easily scalable for anybody because we can now use our legs to help pull up. Key here is to help keep my torso vertical. I don't want to come back, otherwise we're going to go into our next exercise, which is what we call a row, a suspension row, okay, or a bodyweight row. So these ones pretty much the same as the TRX or jungle gym or suspension trainer push-ups. I set this about mid-thigh height, though sometimes I'll go a little higher if I need a little less resistance to start. So I set my straps about the same, and then I start back here. So I'm going to start with my fists in tight, same push position or same racked position, okay? All I do is I walk my feet forward. The farther my feet are forward, the harder this exercise becomes. I'm going to start back here. I lower back. I'm in socks, so I'm slipping. So I lower back, and I pull forward. I don't pull so far that I lose tension in this, right? So right here, the straps are slack. I want to keep that tension. So this is where I stop. I lower back, and I pull. And my body is in one solid plank position. My chest moves forward first as opposed to my face. A lot of people will pull, they'll shoot their hips forward, and then they'll shoot their head forward, and it looks really ugly. Okay? So I keep my hips back, and I pull. Everything is in a nice solid line there. All right, so moving forward, I'm going to do what we call a bench supported row, and you can actually come over here, that's fine. So I post myself up in a really good position. The position in this is super important. 90% of people mess this up. Okay? I want to make sure that I have a flat back or a neutral back position. That's the most important thing out of this pull, and everybody messes it up. Okay? So I start, one knee on, 1 foot out wide, and I point my toe out and I bend my knee. That keeps my hamstrings safe, and it keeps my back in a good position because now I can sit back, right? So all I do is I sit this hip back, and I come forward. 2 options here. I can sit back towards my heel here with my hip, and I'm gonna put that weight over here. I like to bring people forward a little bit. That way they've got a lot of shoulder work going on because their shoulders having to lock everything in nice and tight. But it also means I have to resist more through my abdomen, which is very good. All right. And then for you in particular, set up so that you let your heel, or your foot just hang off the back, and that'll avoid using that hardware. So I actually just come to the back of this and I hook my heel on that, and then I bring my knee forward. All right. So I set up in my good position. Everything's nice and flat, trying to stick my head towards the room over there. Okay. Grab my dumbbell. Now as soon as I'm here, I don't want this to pull me down. I want to take that shoulder blade and lock it back. And then I just row up high. Okay. Avoid keeping this in too tight. It'll look like a T-Rex row, so we call those. Okay. We also don't want to bring them out too wide because that'll hurt the shoulder. So right about 45 and nice and tight. Lean a little bit farther forward. Now there's a whole lot more resistance and tension going through here. So just a couple more on these, in nice and tight. Okay. Knees bent back here, and I'm in a very good position here. I kind of look like a baby crawling on the floor. All right. So the next variation of this, I think it's actually a little simpler than this because it's easier to get in position. I move my feet wide. Okay. You can do this narrow too, but for now we'll move our feet wide, toes out. All I do is a hinge back. I bend my knees, I hinge back, I lean forward, and I put my weight here. All right. I grab my weight and I pull, making sure I don't ram my dumbbell or kettlebell into my knee. So just right here. Okay. Want to make it a little more challenging and just lean forward a little bit, but it's all the same. And the key is the good hinge position. All right. That way I stay nice and solid through here. All right. And that brings us to our last one, which is our bent over row, which you need to practice your hinge pattern and Romanian deadlift in order for this to happen. So this is just a Romanian deadlift without the hip movement, with shoulder movement added. All right. So I start in my hip width position, bend the knees, reach this back, okay? And I do my row, just like this. Two things. One, I don't want to make sure that every time I pull that I'm not jerking up. That's what people commonly do when they're doing this, is they'll pull and then they'll jerk up. And their position slowly starts to change and come upright. So that brings me to point number 2. You want to get to where you're at your maximum hinge for this position. So I let my weights hang in front of me, and I reach back until I can't really go back anymore, all right? Or until I have to start squatting to come any lower. That's my position. So I reach, that's where I'm gonna be at. For some people that might not be here. Commonly for females though, they can get pretty low. So my key here is, if this part back here moves, I wanna stop there. I wanna stop just above that so it doesn't move, so that this is all locked in nice and tight. And that's my position. In my opinion, this is just as much a glute and hamstring exercise as it is an upper back exercise. So one more time, good solid position, looking straight down at the ground. I'm not up here, straight down, pull. Weights are in nice and tight to me. They're not way out here, in nice and tight, pull, and back. And that covers our pulling exercises.